Welcome to Budgeting Basics for a Solopreneur. I'm so excited that you're here and I can't wait to dive into showing you how to use your money to be more effective, build your business, hit your goals, and have a totally amazing financial life. So my name is Jill Emanuel. I'm a financial coach with Fiscal Fitness Phoenix, and I am here today to walk you through some of the steps that you need to know to get your personal finances in order and have a lot of control and confidence around what's happening on the personal side of life. And then how do you actually juggle things between business and personal, find that balance, and know what you can do to grow the business with a lot of confidence. So we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to share my screen with you to walk you through some slides because I think the visual is really going to help you to be able to see what I'm talking about. So give me just 1 minute to share my screen. Okay, so let's get started. So as I mentioned, we are going to talk about how to have a better budget. And a lot of times when people think about budgeting, it makes them shudder with fear. They are not excited about this at all. It seems complicated, overwhelming. It feels like a really negative and constrictive word, and people resist the heck out of it. But let me tell you that we really work to make budgeting fun and something that's simple and easy for you to use so that you can have a lot of confidence through the rest of your life, knowing exactly what is happening with your money and not having to stress. So bear with me, have an open mind, and we are going to get started. So as I said, my name is Jill Emanuel. I'm a financial coach with Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. This is a picture of me with my hunky husband and my super cute little boys. They are 6 and 9 and they are a handful, but they're so much fun. I wouldn't change it for the world. I got started as a financial coach because I went through a major financial turmoil point in my life several years ago. I wound up actually seeking out the help of a financial coach, and after I learned an entirely new way of handling money, my life and my husband's life were totally transformed. We were in a pile of debt, very, very stressed. Our relationship was strained. We were fighting and arguing. We were to the point that we didn't know if we would have to file bankruptcy or if we were going to lose our house. And you can only imagine the stress that that puts on you as an individual and on your relationship. We wound up seeking out help with a financial coach, and within months, things had turned around for us. A year and a half down the road, we had paid off all of our credit card debt, we had money in the bank, and we finally felt free. So I definitely fell in love with this system and became a huge advocate for teaching and helping others how to do the same thing that we had done. As we go through this training today, here are some of our goals. We want to help you get clarity on what your current financial system is. I want to show you why a traditional budget maybe hasn't worked for you in the past, and show you the Fiscal Fitness Phoenix budgeting method, which is a little bit different. I'm also going to show you some emergency savings, values, and goals. And then at the end, if you want to get some free downloads that is going to show you how to build the budget that I talk about, I want you to shoot me an email and you can request those. We'll go over that at the end as well. This is a picture of Joe and Sean. They are clients of Fiscal Fitness, and looking at this picture, you would never guess that this was the look and feel of financial stress. This was a married couple that came in. They were making decent incomes. So what that is really up to you, right? But in their minds, they were making pretty good money. But Joe cried all the time about money. She was so stressed about it that it was a huge cause of anxiety and emotional turmoil. Sean saw how stressed she was, but he didn't know how to help. They were in what they considered a lot of debt. And I'm not going to put a number on that because to some people, a lot of debt is $5,000. To some people, a lot of debt is $100,000. So to them, it felt like a lot and it was really stressing them out. Sean worked for a job that he totally hated, but he had to take the job because they needed the money. And when we first met them, Joe found a credit card that she had totally forgotten that she was paying for, and she was paying $300 a month. So we're going to take a look back at them so you can see what happens once you get this system in place. So when we talk to clients who come in for the first time, we typically will hear that they have 3 common money challenges, and you might relate to some of these. You might relate to all of these, but the first one being that they say they have an inability to save money. So despite maybe all of the best intentions, somehow they're not putting away as much as they want. They might hope to have something in savings or an emergency fund, but even if they put something in, they wind up having to pull it out and use it for something else. The second thing is that they're in debt and they can't seem to get out or stay out. So maybe they have debt that keeps adding and adding, and they see those balances growing over time. And even with the payments they're making, they're not getting ahead. Or they may have a credit card that they pay off, and then something happens and they have to charge something right back onto it. So they feel like they just can never quite get out of that cycle. The third thing is that people will say, I overspend, or I can't stick to a budget. So they may have great intentions at the beginning of the month for what they're going to do with their money and how things are all going to play out. And at the end of the month, they find that they didn't stick to what they had thought they would do at all. They overspent, spent more than they had planned, and they feel pretty cruddy about it. So really, all 3 of these things are actually symptoms of a bigger problem. And that is that we just can't see our money very clearly. We live in a digital age, so all of our money and transactions are very much out in technology, and we're trying to keep track of it all in our head, but it becomes this big jumbled cobweb of trying to figure out what's coming in, what's going out, where is everything flowing to and from, and it becomes this biomechanical engineering flow chart trying to keep track of where everything fits and flows. So how that looks for us when it comes to real life. The first component of this kind of mumble jumble that we have going on in our head is because of our random expenses. So we like to call this category the whammies. So it is the things that when they hit hard and we feel them. So some months there's nothing going on, and at the top of this peak is when the car breaks down. Then nothing's happening. Then the top of the peak again is when you go on a shopping spree, and then nothing happens, and then you go on a family vacation. So there are months when nothing goes on and months when big expenses happen, and it causes a lot of stress. The next thing that happens is that we've got this changing in expense with our day-to-day spending. So this is things like going out to eat, grabbing a coffee, getting groceries, household expenses. So from one day to the next, we don't know how much we're going to spend. We definitely can't look at the beginning of the month and say, every day this month I'm spending $30. We would never have any idea from one day to the next what it's actually going to look like. You might have some weeks where you are very well stocked on everything in the house, you food prepped and have everything planned for where you don't need to spend much money at all. And then the next week, you might be working long hours, have company in town, you're eating out and going out and having fun, so you might spend a ton of money that week. So it's very unpredictable. The third thing that's unpredictable for us is our income. And this is especially true for business owners. So when you have a fluctuating income, so whether you're on a set salary, maybe you have every 2 weeks you get paid, which means twice a year you'll have a month where you have a third paycheck. Maybe you get a tax return. Maybe you get a commission or a bonus. And if you are a business owner, you have revenues coming in all over the place. And from one day to the next week or the next month, it's really hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. So what we will see happen is that people are trying to use this to make all of their financial choices and to feel good about it. And there's just way too much going on and too much unpredictability to have a lot of confidence in those choices. So we'll see someone that has a spike in income. This red line where it's up at the top is a big spike in income. So say that you signed a bunch of new clients and you have this huge rush of income. Well, when that happens, most people get really excited about either paying off their debt or investing in the thing that they've been waiting on. And so they'll spend that money to try to reach that goal that they've been waiting to hit. They go ahead and do that, and then the next month, it just never fails that when the whammies hit, they happen big, right? So maybe you go on vacation and when you get back, the car breaks down. So it all happens in the same month and there's this huge expense. And then you wind up beating yourself up for what you did before that you never could have predicted. You'd have all of these really expensive things that happen the next month. So what we want to do is show you how to create flat lines like this with that blue and purple line. We want to take those out of the equation and make them so predictable that they're not a worry anymore. And that when you have those peaks in income, it truly is extra income. So I know this sounds like a little bit like voodoo witchcraft or something, but just stick with me because I'm going to show you how our system can actually make this possible. Now, if you have tried budgeting before, you likely have done something that's similar to this. If you Google a personal budget template, you're going to find like a million different examples that all look like this. And the premise is that you start with your income, you subtract all of your expenses, and at the bottom, that shows you how much you should have left at the end of the month. The problem with this is that our life does not happen in a snapshot like this. We don't get paid on the first of the month and pay every single bill on the second of the month and nothing happens for the entire rest of the month. That's just not how it works. So when people have tried budgeting like this, and maybe they've spent a lot of time and a lot of hours doing that. I know that I did that in my past life. I would spend every Saturday morning for hours mapping out months and months of what I thought our expenses and income would look like, and it was never anywhere close to the truth. I felt like such a failure. So if you've tried that and you've been very frustrated that it doesn't seem to work and you feel like you might be doing something wrong, just know that it's the system. This system of budgeting just does not work. The other way that we'll see clients budgeting is that they'll use mint.com. So if you haven't heard of this, it's a website that you can go to. You plug in your debit card or credit card information, and it will pull all of your transactions into one place and sort them out by category. So how much is eating out? How much is clothing? How much is travel? How much is utilities? It sorts everything for you and then shows you this nice little pie chart that will break down how much is going to each of these different categories. What's nice about it is that it gives you a snapshot of what you've been doing. So if you have no clue where your money's been going, this is a great way to just get a feel for what has actually been happening. The problem with it is that it doesn't actually help you to plan anything. It just shows what you already did. We like to joke that those budgeting systems are basically like looking at a map and saying, we're right here. So you'll see on the map, we've got Fiscal Fitness Phoenix marked there in Arizona. And great, you know, using those budgeting systems to get a feel for where you are is fine. But what we really want is have a roadmap on how to get from where we are now to our financial goals. So we want it to look more like this, right? We're at Fiscal Fitness. We want to get to Wall Street in New York. How are we going to get there? There's more than one route. One way is quicker than the other, but both of them will get you to your destination. It's the exact same way with budgeting. So there is not one size fits all. There's not one way that's right and one way that's wrong when it comes to what your goals are along the way. So you may be super laser focused on hitting your goals. Maybe you have credit cards that you want to pay off and you're like, I just want them gone more than anything in the world. I want to pay those off. And so you are willing to do whatever it takes. You'll cut all of your extra bills. You'll eat ramen for the next 12 months, whatever you need to do, just so long as you get out of debt. Then there's going to be other people that they'll look at that as an option and think, oh my gosh, there's no way I could ever do that. I can't imagine giving up my hobbies or not being able to go on our summer vacation as a family. And we love to cook and eat at home, and we like a healthy diet. So there's no way we can change that. So there's nothing wrong with that. Whichever way feels right to you, we can still get you to the destination. It just might take a little bit longer. So we like to say that with our method of budgeting, you can't control when life is going to happen to you. We can't control if the car is going to break down or the air conditioner is going to go out, but we definitely can help you control how you feel it financially. And so that's what we're going to do now, is we introduce you to the Fiscal Fitness budgeting method. So as we get started, we handle our expenses into 3 specific categories. So if you're taking notes, this is where you're going to want to start. Category number 1 is your recurring expenses. So everything that has a set due date and is very predictable from month to month is going to fall into this category. This would be your rent or mortgage, a car payment, your insurance, utilities, your cell phone bill, internet, cable. Any of those things that happen every single month and have a set due date are going to fall into this category. So we call this the no surprises category because you always know they're coming. They're not a surprise. The second bucket that we'll put expenses into is the day-to-day spending, or the nickel and diming. So this is all of the things that come up just throughout the day and throughout the week that are part of your normal life. Going out to eat, stopping and grabbing a coffee, getting groceries, buying cleaning supplies, paper towels, toilet paper, maybe picking up your dry cleaning or getting your nails done. Those would all fall into this day-to-day category. The third bucket is the non-recurring and random expenses, or the whammies. So this is the category that most people are the least prepared for, and we're going to help you to see a way to be prepared for those expenses when they come up. So these are things like car repairs, home repairs, clothing, personal grooming, vacations, if you have annual dues and fees for things, this would all fall into that category. A couple of ways to think about this is if you have an insurance payment for your car insurance, if it is due every single month, it would go into your recurring expenses category. If you pay your insurance every 6 months, it would go into the random and non-recurring expenses category. Another thing to think about is that it's possible to have one expense that actually falls into 2 of these different categories. For instance, we'll see this when people have children that are in a hobby or sport. So maybe you have a daughter that's in dance, and every single month you pay for her dance class. But once or twice a year, there's a big dance production where you have to buy costumes and maybe pay some sort of fee to dance in it. And so that would become a non-recurring and random expense. So we're going to look at how to handle each of these different categories. So the first one is the fixed and recurring bills. And I know this seems so simple, but this is absolutely the #1 way that you can help to get organized around this, is to make a list of all of your bills, their amounts, and the due dates, and then list them in due date order. So oftentimes we'll see clients who will organize their bills by maybe relevance, or they might sort them by category, like household expenses, car expenses. So I want you to organize them specifically by due date, have them in a list, and have it written or typed somewhere where you can easily see what is happening over the course of the month by the date. So why do we do this? One, it's going to help you see the timing of your expenses versus your paycheck, so not by the month. Now, if you're a business owner, you're going to say to me, Jill, I don't get a paycheck, I just get revenues that come in. Just bear with me, because we are actually going to give you a paycheck. So you're going to have one. Two, it makes paying those bills as quick as a glance. Pardon the typo. We want you to be able to look at that list and say, here's where the paycheck comes in. This is everything that's due. I know exactly right away what needs to be paid during that pay period, and you can get them all paid right away when the check comes in. So we really want you to be paying with bill pay through the bank. So I recommend everyone get that set up. Go to your bank, set up the bill pay through your checking account. When you're getting paid, you're going to go into the bill pay, make sure that every bill that's due in that pay period all gets paid at once. You don't need to wait until the due date. It'll take away so much stress and like mental energy of keeping track of when everything's due, because now you can just be paying your bills twice a month. Second category is the day-to-day spending. So the first thing you want to do is try to figure out how much you would actually need per pay period for that category. So again, this is groceries, eating out, coffees, nails, dry cleaning, miscellaneous household expenses. Take a look and see how much on average you spend per month, divide it by 2, and then say that is how much I need for every 2-week period, and you are going to start taking that out in cash. I know, shudder, I said the word cash. It makes everyone cringe, but believe me, this is a game changer. If you need to see how much you've been spending on things, you can go to mint.com, plug it in. It's going to show you those different categories of spending to help you come up with your number. But the reason that we want you to use cash, first and foremost, it is going to make spending tangible. If you are using cash, believe me, you're going to keep track. There's no way you're going to get to the cashier and accidentally be over $100. You are going to know for sure when you get up there, or you're going to be like sending things back, right? So you won't be able to spend $130 if you only have $100 to spend. It also is going to turn this nickel and diming category into a fixed expense, because we are going to say that every single payday you have a set amount, you're going to pull it out in cash, and then nothing else is going to happen as far as that category in your checking account for the entire 2 weeks. So it becomes so predictable and so set that nothing is ever going to change from month to month. You will always know with certainty exactly how much money you're spending. When you're using cash, we don't want you to worry about where every single dollar goes. It doesn't matter if part of it's going to eating out and part of it's going to groceries and how much went where. All that you need to do is know that you're taking out cash. It has to be cash only for any of those expenses, and then you're fine. Using cash exclusively can be a little bit awkward, so we don't say to use this for everything. Your gas, still use your debit card. For paying your bills, for all of the miscellaneous different things that are going to be part of this non-recurring and random expenses that we're about to talk about, you can definitely be using your debit card for that, but we want to use cash for just all of the day-to-day spending. All right, so we are going to talk about the non-recurring and random expenses. So these are the whammies, the things that hit and tend to hit big, that are not predictable or don't always happen every single month. So the way that we handle these is that we are going to have you set up savings accounts for each one of these categories. So I know that this sounds weird, but trust me, this is such an amazing system. So both Capital One and Ally Bank are online banks. So you can open up to 25 different savings accounts and have them all there with their own name on it for each different category that you want to save for. And you're not going to have any monthly fee, no minimum balance requirements, no auto deposit requirements. They actually pay you a little bit of interest on the money that is deposited there. So what we want to have happen is that you have a set amount that you've decided is going to go to clothing every month, for instance. Say that you're putting $100 every single month that you want to be able to have for clothing. So every month on a set day, you'll transfer all of your savings account funds into its own individual account at Capital One or Ally. So again, if you need help figuring out how much to put away for those different categories, you can either look at your last few months of bank statements, or you can plug it into mint.com and let it sort it out for you. This is an example of what it looks like inside of Capital One. So they've got their checking account and then an emergency fund, clothing, kids stuff, life insurance, home repairs, HOA, vet bills, Arizona tax credits, adoption, grooming, medical, emergency fund, and commercial property. So whatever your categories would be, you'll just open up the accounts, change the nickname to the category that you want to be saving for, and then every month, like clockwork, you can transfer money into your savings account. So why do we do this? All right. So number one reason why we do this is because when you compartmentalize the money, it does not feel bad when you actually have to use it. So when we can actually compartmentalize and put all of them into their own individual buckets, then it doesn't feel bad when you have to use it. When the car breaks down, you have money that is specifically for the car breaking down. When you're going on vacation, you have money that's specifically for going on vacation. And of course, if you have an emergency account, it truly is emergency money because you have everything else covered at this point. Another reason to do this is because it gets the money out of your checking account. If it's still in the checking account, it's way too easy to spend it. But if you're pulling it out and putting it into savings, it's not there and it can't be spent. Another reason is because when you have those savings accounts set up, you're always going to have a budget when you go shopping. So let's say that you have your clothing account and you're going shopping for clothes. You would look at your savings account and see how much is in it. So let's say you have $200 in your clothing account. You're not going to go shopping and spend $300. You will know that you need to stick to $200 or less, and then you're all good. But if you go over, you know that you're spending too much. But you will be very aware of what is appropriate spending and what can you really do and feel very confident in. This also is going to help you to reach your goals more quickly, because after you have all of these different categories accounted for and you're saving for all of them, anything extra that's left in the bank account goes directly towards the goal that you are working on. It's going to help you to save for the planned and unplanned expenses, and this is actually a really great time to use credit cards. So now every month looks like this. Your paycheck comes in. As a business owner, we're going to give you a paycheck. You pay your bills. They're all set up on bill pay through the bank. You take out your cash. You know it's got to last you until the next paycheck comes in, and then you're going to save for your upcoming expenses. This happens over and over and over every single month, totally like clockwork. And at the end of the month, you should have some money left over. So it looks just like this, right? We've learned to control the day-to-day spending because we're taking out cash. All of those random and non-recurring expenses, the big whammies, now they're totally consistent because we're putting away money every single month and it's very predictable. And then any extra income that comes in, now when we do something with that, it's going to be okay. We're not going to be kicking ourselves or trying to catch up for it on the back end. It will truly just be extra money at that point. So let's talk about fluctuating income, because as an entrepreneur, chances are that your income is not consistent and like clockwork. What we really want to do is help you to avoid the fast or famine. Or the feast or famine. We don't want to have like a huge month where lots of money comes in and you feel like you can absolutely invest, and we don't want you to have a ton of money come in where you feel like you can kind of feast like that, and then the next month you feel like you're in total famine mode because you didn't have enough foresight to plan ahead into the coming months. We want you to be able to dial in and be really aware of your expenses. We want you to create a bills checking account. So this will be a separate checking account from where all the revenue is coming in. So on a fluctuating income, this is absolutely the best way to ensure that you have enough money every single month to cover all of the bills. So you'll open your revenue checking account where all of the payments and income comes into you, and then you want to have bills checking account where you will actually pay the bills out of that one. So on the first of every month, you're going to deposit money from the income checking account into the bills checking account. So you're going to want to go through and total up all of your expenses, including the things that you're saving for in your business, and you'll know the total amount of money that you need as your bills money. So that's what you'll transfer into that account every single month. So your income actually might fluctuate a bit, but now it becomes much more controlled because whatever's coming into that income checking account, if it's more or less, as long as it's going to cover the bills, we're fine. So we want to estimate the income and the paycheck low and estimate that it comes in a little bit later than you think, because we can't always know with total confidence and predictability what's going to happen on the business side. You also want to know in advance, what is the priority list if and when it comes in earlier and higher than expected. So if you've planned on having a total income of the month of $5,000 and it actually comes in at $7,000, you want to know in advance, what will you do with anything extra that comes in this month, and have a plan for that. We're not anti-credit card. You can use those cards to pay for the non-recurring and random expenses, transfer money from savings into checking, and then you can pay off the balance right away. So I want to show you an example of what the Fiscal Fitness Phoenix budget spreadsheet looks like. And again, if you shoot me an email and request that you get added on to get this download, we'll send you an email that will have a tutorial on how to build this for yourself. So I want to show you a little bit of how it looks so that you can see what this system does. So we are here at the top, we've got your paycheck coming in. Each column is divided based on when the paycheck comes in. So the paycheck comes in green, you take out your cash. Below that is every bill that's going to be listed according to due date. Next column, same thing again. The paycheck comes in, take out cash for your groceries and eating out. And then every bill that's planned for the next 2 weeks is listed below. Down here in orange are the savings accounts. So everything that you'll be transferring into savings will be set and totally predictable, looking like this month after month after month. So what does it take to actually make these changes? One thing is, yeah, you have to have some technical skills. We need you to be able to set up the savings accounts, to be, savvy, to be able to transfer the money back and forth. Building your budget does take some Excel or spreadsheet knowledge, so there can be some technical learning curves that go into setting everything up. It's going to take some courage, because when you first look at all of your numbers, you may not like what you see. You might find that you actually are spending more than what you're making, or that you're not making as much as what you had hoped that you were, and be a little bit frustrated by it. It can be really hard to make those initial changes. It's not always very easy. So it does take courage. It takes courage to look at it, to have the consciousness and presence of mind to say, you know what, I'm willing to make some changes right now so that I can make some things happen, so I can start making progress and work towards my goals. So you've got to be brave and have a little courage. The third thing is accountability. So it can be hard to start a new system and get going with it. And if you don't have someone to give you some sense of accountability and to keep you on track, it can be really easy to get discouraged or to give up on it, or feel like maybe you're not making progress as fast as you wanted, and then you'll quit. So if any of those things happen, it is totally okay to ask for help. When we talk about goal setting, what we want you to think about is always, what are you going to do with the extra money? Because when you get this system really dialed in, you absolutely will always have extra money every single month. And what do you want to be doing with it? That kind of goes with being intentional. So you'll be very intentional with all of your spending, because you are working towards something big and you know you want to hit it. Setting goals, we want you to only be working on one thing at a time. So oftentimes we'll have clients that come in that maybe are paying extra to their car payments, paying extra to their mortgage, paying extra to every credit card that they have. I want you to stop that right now. You want to choose one and only one goal that you are going to work towards at a time, because divide and conquer just doesn't work. It's going to dilute all of your efforts. You're going to see very slow progress in every one of those areas. So pay the minimum payments on everything except for your number one goal. And then when you're doing your planning, you want to be planning out at least 3 months in advance. You want to be able to see what progress you can make in that time period and know about any changes coming up so that you can make really effective decisions today. Your small business checklist. We want you to get together all of your recurring expenses, and your paycheck is going to become one of these. So you'll figure out what all of your expenses are on the personal side. That becomes your paycheck, and this is going to become an expense from your business. Look at your day-to-day spending. So in a business, this can be a whole bunch of different things, but it's oftentimes you're eating out, office supplies, miscellaneous supplies that you need to run the business. So figure out approximately how much you think that you'll spend in that category. This is going to change a lot too. So what you really want to do is find an estimate of what you think you'll spend, and you just want to use it as a way to check in and know every couple of weeks, am I spending around what I thought I would spend in this category, or am I way over and this is something I need to look at? And then non-recurring and random expenses. With a business, it's just the same as personal. There's all sorts of things that we're saving up for that we need to have different categories to save for. So maybe you are doing a new launch for a product or a service and you need to have more marketing dollars or advertising put away. Maybe you need to save for new equipment. Maybe you want to save for a seminar or a coach. So whatever those non-recurring and random expenses are, you need to be putting money into savings just the same as you would for the personal side of life. So if you're struggling with creating your budget, sticking to the budget, or you're going back to old habits, or if you find that you are making some progress with your budget, but you want faster results, accountability, and more specific answers to your questions, that is where we come in. So please give us a call. Here's the number, 480-788-4588. Or you can hop online and go to fiscalfitnessphx.com/QA, and you can schedule a consultation call just to ask some questions and see if it would be a good fit to help you reaching your goals. So I love this quote because when we started, I was talking about budgeting and how it's really about just, how people have a negative connotation to the word. But for me, and what I hope someday is for you, is that budgeting is about deciding how you want to live your life, figuring out what you value and cherish, and then putting your money behind those beliefs. So it is so amazing. And I know that I said we'd circle back to Joe and Sean. They have paid off all of their debt. Sean was able to leave his job that he hated so much. They opened their dream business, and they are very happily working that together now, as Joe was recently able to leave her job as well, and life is completely different. So just know that your dreams are definitely on the other side, and that getting your finances in order is so much the answer to getting where you want to go. So again, my name is JIll Emanuel, financial coach with Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have questions, if you want to drop me a comment and let me know your takeaways or something that you learned, or if you want to get your name on our email list to get the download to know how to build your own budget using our system, shoot me an email at jill@fiscalfitnessphx.com, and I'll make sure that you get added onto that list. We'll get it sent out for you. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will talk to you later.